Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to break down some minor key bluesy lead ideas, and you're going to walk away from this video being able to play these ideas and apply them to your playing, because we're going to take everything that I just played and we're going to break it down note for note, and I'll show you where all those notes come from so that you have them in context. Now this is kind of in the style of David Gilmour. There's some Eric Clapton, there's some Mark Knopfler. You know, I kind of, as I listen back to it, I can definitely hear influences from those. I was actually trying to make it sound more David Gilmour than anything. I've been into sort of a Pink Floyd kind of vibe lately. So anyway, we'll talk about all that as we get into the video. In this video, we're going to go through the first half of the solo. If you'd like to learn the second half, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam track, get all those extra things that will help you practice what we're going to talk about. You can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP517. All right, so let's listen to the beginning of that solo again, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so this song is in the key of A minor. And most of what we're going to be doing is like minor pentatonic scale stuff. So there shouldn't be anything to kind of freak out about as we kind of go into this. You know how to do most of this. The song, however, starts with an F chord. We're not going to play the F chord, but that's what you can hear in the jam track. So it starts on the F chord, then it goes to an E, which is your 5 chord, and then it goes to the 1. And I realize that F maybe throws some people who say, oh wait, that's not in key. It's the 5 chord, but up a half step. And so that's a common turnaround scenario in a song. You do whatever your 5 chord is, you just go up a half step. So in this case, it would be an F, and then you go to your 5 chord and then 1 chord. So you hear that a lot, especially in a minor key blues. What did I play over the F? I basically trace the notes of the chord. I'm going to put the tab up on the screen. We won't go like super into the weeds on everything, but basically you'll see as I play through these, I'll play through it slowly, you'll see it's touching on the notes of the chord, and it's starting with that 4th fret 2nd string, which is your flat 7. That would be the note you would add to your F chord if you wanted it to be an F7, and that note gives it a bluesier sound. So I started here on the 2nd string, 4th fret, then we come down here. So that's the first 4 notes. And then from this 1st fret 2nd string, we're going to take our index finger, drop it down to the 3rd string, and then do a hammer on to the 2nd fret 3rd string. So we have... And then the last note is your F note here, which is on the 3rd fret 4th string. And then a quick upstroke on strings 1 and 2, which are behind the bar there on the 1st fret. But all of that, you can see your F chord inside that. Now let that lick represent that chord in your mind. So in the future, if you're playing a song with a G chord and you wanted it to sound kind of bluesy, you can repeat the licks, you can repeat the notes or whatever. Hopefully a simple little lick like this will start to generate some ideas. That's the first thing. Then I came up here and did the old red house sound, you know, like that 7th triad. And what I'm playing up here is that would be an F7. It's a triad of that. And you can think about this note as being your anchor. That's that note we started with. That's that 4th fret 2nd string, the flat 7 of our F chord. If you put your index finger there instead now, and then your ring finger, middle finger on the 5th fret, strings 1 and 3, and just play those top 3 strings, you're playing an F7 triad. It's the same as your D7 triad. You just slide it up to here. So all of that is what I played over the F7. So the next chord is the E chord, which is just a half step down. So why not take that triad and move it a half step down? That's my E7 now. Now watch this. We're going to take that triad and we're going to play another E7 triad up here on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to play another one up here on strings 1, 2, and 3. I did that on purpose just to give you some ideas for playing these triads. And letting them color your solos. You could also pick the notes out of them. all kinds of ideas you can get out of that. But from this E7 here, we're going to come up here. It's the same shape, but we put a fret in between. So now we've got our ring finger and middle finger on the 7th fret, strings 1 and 3, but our index fingers on the 5th fret, 2nd string. That's another way to voice an E7 triad. And then we're going to come all the way up here and bar the first 3 strings on the 9th fret, and then put a finger on the 10th fret, 1st string. And you can think of that as the same shape as like your A7 chord that you learn in 1st position. It's the same thing, but we're doing it here, which makes it an E7. And I connect that in my mind to the E chord using the A shape right here. So it makes sense, right? That's my E chord. Oh yeah, there's my E7 as a little appendage off of that chord. Now the song goes to our minor chord. We go right into the 1 chord. Now nothing clever is happening here. This is just minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. So I'm starting, you know that one, right? That's where our 5th fret is our root fret. I'm thinking about this A minor chord here, letting that sort of be my home base. And minor pentatonic scale pattern 1 is that's the one you know. I know you know that one, right? So we started with strings 1 and 2 on the 5th fret there. And then we come up to this 8th fret 1st string, and then we're just gonna walk right down the scale. Push that sharp a little bit, and then watch this. That's 8, 5, 7, 5. And then some vibrato there as we get to that note. So now the song goes from the A minor to an F. And what I played over that was this. Now let me show you the notes real quick. It's 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 4th string. And then we're going to come to the 4th fret 3rd string, and we're going to go 4, 5, 7 on that 3rd string. But we land on the 4th fret 3rd string. And that note, that one note, colors this thing in what I would consider Lydian mode. So when you think about Lydian mode, I know some of you know your modes, some of you don't. I'll put a lesson up on the screen if you want more information. It's actually, I'll put 2 lessons up. It's part 1 and part 2 if you want more information on what these modes are. But basically Lydian mode is you just take your major scale and you sharp the 4th interval. That's all it is. It's one note that gets pushed out of place. So we're playing over the F chord, so you'd be playing your F Lydian. But that's not how I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this as the A natural minor scale, just thinking about the key of the song. And when I land on this note, my ear was pulling me to that, and it wasn't until after the fact that I realized, what is it about that sound that I like? Oh, that's that Lydian sound. And this is, to me, is when I mentioned David Gilmour at the beginning of this. I hear Dave Gilmour using a lot of that sound. And you'll hear that in movie scores, film scores a lot of time. It's just it's a pretty sound, but it's an uneasy sound. I love it in something like this. It's kind of spacey. But when you hear that with the F underneath it, it sounds really cool. Now this next lick is coming from that same space. It's really the same scale. I'm not exactly sure how I did it. I'll put the tab up so that you can get it exactly right. But I know that part's right. And I'm walking up the scale. I'm thinking about my A natural minor scale, but my fingers know what to do because I've memorized the major scale in 5 positions of the neck. I keep talking about this. This is probably the biggest breakthrough that can happen to you as you're learning how to improvise, is to just commit it to do the work and be able to play your major scale in 5 positions of the neck. I'll put that lesson up on the screen again. That was the part 1 of the modes video, and I talk about that. I give you practice exercises and everything for being able to do that. Once you can play your major scale in the 5 positions of the neck, which match the caged system, by the way, the CAGED shapes, that's where the 5 positions come from. Once you can do that, then your fingers have that committed to their little memory. It's a weird thing. And so when I'm improvising something like this, my fingers kind of know which intervals to hit because it's just that major scale. In actual fact, everything we're doing here, this is the really weird part, is the C major scale. So F Lydian mode and A natural minor scale and all this stuff I'm talking about, it's really just, it's the C major scale, but I'm starting it at different spots in the scale. So anyway, some of that's getting into mode stuff. It sounds complicated when I say it, but I'm telling you, it's really just your fingers memorizing the intervals. And once you're able to do that and do it comfortably, you'll be able to play all over the neck. It really kind of opens things up. And another approach that works really well is to take a scale that you already know, like let's say it's just the minor pentatonic scale. Maybe that's the only one you know. And just finding which 2 notes you need to add to that scale to unlock it and make it the full natural minor scale. Because when you do that, so for example, here's my A minor pentatonic scale. I can add this note to it, and I can add this note to it. Now, I don't just have the A minor pentatonic scale, I have the A natural minor scale. It's a more sophisticated sounding scale. That same scale happens to be F Lydian. So when this song goes from the A minor to the F chord, I can play those notes from that scale and it's going to match perfectly, and it's going to give you that kind of Dave Gilmour kind of vibe. So after I played those notes from that A natural minor scale or the F Lydian, then I went into this bend series here, and that's coming right out of the Dave Gilmour playbook. So I'm bending there, 7th fret 3rd string, full bend, and then I use my pinky to hit the 8th fret 2nd string. Now that's how I do it. Some people might use your ring finger for that. It just depends on what's most comfortable. But look at those notes. You're doing the bend, you're hitting that note, and then doing the bend again. And just connect those to minor pentatonic scale. That way you can get at them anytime you want to. Put a little vibrato in there, and then you got that sound. And then after that I played. So that's another bend, but this time we're going to be on the 2nd string. So 8th fret 2nd string, full bend, 8th fret 1st string. So the first time we went, and then the second time we went, and after that it was, and so this is walking right down that natural minor F Lydian scale again. So it starts here on the 6th fret 2nd string, 5th fret, and then 7th fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string. So we have, and then let's go back to the 5th fret 2nd string, and then go back down. Then we're going to go 7, 5, 7th fret 4th string. So and then I just stayed in the key of the song for this next lick, which is like A minor pentatonic scale. 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 4th string, and then we do the same thing on the 3rd string. Full bend, and then we come down to the 5th fret 4th string. One last thing I'll just mention, and I meant to mention it as we were going through this, is pay attention to all of the spacing between the notes. That's one of those things that doesn't get talked about enough. It's kind of weird to talk about it like, hey, pay attention to what's not being played. But that's a really good way to make your playing sound more thought out and more intentional when you do that, because that's the way a vocalist would approach something. You have to stop and take a breath and let certain phrases kind of sink in. And some of the best singers, like Sinatra, for example, were really good at their timing. They were really good at knowing how to kind of work an audience in that way. And the same thing can be said for learning how to improvise on an instrument. So pay attention to when to take a breath and when not to play. All right, so I'm going to wrap up this part 1 video right here. If you'd like to join us for part 2 and download the tablature, download the MP3 jam tracks, get all those extra things, come join us at activemelody.com. And if you like this lesson, I have hundreds and hundreds of other in-depth lessons just like this one, and they're all designed to help you improvise. All right, we'll see you in part 2.